What's going on, Internet? Tony Tucker from MJT here, joined with Joe Morley. No Mike today, at least unless he decides to make a surprise appearance. That would be great. January 11th, middle of the day for us, early part of the day for us here in California. And the news has just been so much fun. If you love football, the excitement that is happening right now with head coaching vacancies and the coaching class just continuing to ramp up the possibilities. We're both fans of franchises that have openings. So that's what we want to talk about. The chat's open, free. We're down for any comments, questions, whatever you got in there. But we got, a couple days ago or yesterday, Pete Carroll he separates. Vrabel gets fired. And then today, Belichick and the Patriots are going in different directions. I would like to start with Bill Belichick.
Well, let me start with this, Tony.
Okay,
I haven't seen you in a while. Congratulations on your Michigan Wolverines winning the championship. So go ahead, you get that. I haven't seen you since it. You guys beat Michael Penix, who was supposed to be the next greatest thing, right? I haven't heard a lot of talk about Michael Penix since the national championship, so you guys kind of quieted that down a little bit. But a good win, and hopefully, since we're talking about coaches, that's another coach that will be on the market. But Bill Belichick, the biggest name today, Pete Carroll, like you said. But congratulations on the Michigan. Enjoy it for a week or two.
I'm going to enjoy it all the way up until next football season. That's not going anywhere. I would say the thing about the Michael Penix situation is that was a bad way to end. But if Quinn Ewers completes that ball at the end of the Texas-Washington game, Michael Penix is still way up there. He proved to me that he's can play and will be ready to play in the NFL, Joe. It's not everybody has a bad game. And he went up against a Michigan defense that has a lot of guys that are going to be playing in the NFL. So, I think there's at least two of the corners, Sanderstill and Johnson, that are going to be playing there. And then 5 guys across the D-line that are going to get reps in the NFL. So, I think he had a tough matchup in that spot to go against a team that was just not going to be denied. I was telling you that in the fall, it was Michigan's year. They were just going to run over everybody. So I was excited.
So let me address this real quick, Tony. If you guys are watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you're watching me on TikTok, come over to YouTube, MJT Football on YouTube. We can pull your comments up. We're going to be talking about coaching. Tony's excited about Michigan, and we're going to be talking about the NFL playoffs for a little bit. So come on over to MJT Football on YouTube, especially if you're on TikTok, because I can't really keep up with both. And if you're on TikTok, make sure you hit that follow button as well so you guys get everything. But MJT, Mike, Joe, and Tony talking here, just Tony and I today. Bill Belichick, Tony, let's get to that. Because I don't know about you. I put a video up earlier. I think I'm the only motherfucker today, Tony, that's happy. I'm glad that Nick Saban's gone. I'm glad that Belichick's out. And some people are like, Belichick didn't get fired and Pete Carroll didn't get fired. Okay, because you don't want to be the GM that fires Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick. So they mutually agreed to separate and walk away. They got fired. Seattle wants to move on. They see a rebuild coming. They have a 74-year-old coach. It's not going to happen. Bill Belichick, you're not. You think Robert Kraft is that dumb to put his name on I fired the all-time winningest coach, the Super Bowl champion, all this? Hell no. They walked away. If you saw that press conference today, Bill Belichick, he actually looked human today, Tony. He looked like he wanted to cry a little bit. But come on, it was fire. They were fired.
They definitely were fired, but you don't. Kraft made the smart decision. He allowed Belichick to go away from the Patriots without having to fire him. He already released Tom Brady. He does not want to be tied to firing Bill Belichick too. So yesterday, one of my best friends, he's from Tingsboro, Mass, and we've been talking football for 20 years. And I predicted the demise of the Patriots for like a decade. And when it finally happened, it was like kind of sad to talk to him about it because he couldn't be as braggadocious as he had been before. And it felt like watching Belichick fight with his hands tied behind his back, because in this league, you have to have competent quarterback play. Like, I still think Bill Belichick can coach, and we'll get into that later. But like, they separated and did the right thing. Like, of course, Belichick still wanted to be there. He wants to become the all-time winningest coach for the New England Patriots. I believe he'll do it regardless. Like, doesn't matter where he ends up. He's going to not stop until he gets that record. Yeah. But like, I'm talking to my friend yesterday, and he's like listening to the WEI or whatever that sports talk that's popular out in Boston. And he's like, I was getting emotional. And he's like, if there's a press conference, I'm probably going to get teary-eyed. Like, the Patriots and the Red Sox have just been such a big part of his life and a big part of our friendship, talking shit over the years, where like, this is the end of the greatest run that I will ever see. Maybe long after I'm gone, something will happen like this. But I cannot imagine 2 decades of pure dominance. I can't imagine a division that is bankrupt of talent enough for a team to have that kind of dominance. Like, do you know the level of sort of incompetent management that the Bills and the Jets and the Dolphins had to have for 2 decades for a run to go on like that? Like, that aids into the fact of how they were dominant. Now, don't get me wrong, they probably still would have had 4 or 5 Super Bowl runs, but like, it's incredible. Like, even watching the games this year, I didn't feel like he lost a step coaching defense. Their defense was still spectacular, and that was without Judon. Like, he loses Christian Gonzalez early in the season. Like, he's reliant more on Christian Barmore to make plays. Like, Uche didn't have the same kind of year that he had last year. I didn't follow to see if he was in and out on, injuries, whatever was going on. Like, but he still was finding ways to fight in every single game. And he's the coach that when your team played him or you watched him in a big game, you felt like, oh shit. The defense is going to figure out a way to like win this game. He's going to figure out a way to ruin things for me as a bettor. I lost so much money betting against the Patriots.
They lost 3 games this year. The Patriots lost 3 games this year where they gave up 10 points or less. Like 3 weeks in a row, they gave up 3 points or less. But you know what, Tony? I don't give a damn. Down with the Patriots. I hope they go down and never win again. I don't care. I'm a Raider fan. The Tuck rule where he got lucky on that bullshit. Down with the Patriots, and I'm all for it. I'm all for the Patriots going down and nothing ever happening to that franchise ever again. No good could ever go to that franchise again. They got enough of it. They got enough winning, just like Nick Saban leaving Alabama. Good for him. Championships for everybody else besides those guys. You know what I mean? Like, I'm tired. Don't you get tired of seeing the same people win over and over, and we're finally done with it? I'm good with it.
I'm good with it, and I've been good with it for a couple years, watching them be terrible. It is, to me, it is definitely enjoyable. I did say what's up to people in the chat here. Albert stopping by, Abel and Booty Bandit. What's going on, brother? He said Bill deserves a chance. They insisted and kept Mac Jones. I do think that was kind of the issue, was like, it felt like Mac Jones was either forced to be like drafted or like forced to be left in there, to be left on the roster. And then there was problems between that, but also just like Bill's lack of trust with coaches kind of became his downfall in the end. McDaniels leaves. He's had other Dante Scarnecchia, who's a great offensive line coach. He stepped away a while ago. There's a little bit of that. What happened?
Bill Belichick steps away from the game or gets away from the Patriots. One of the former players wrote him a song. I don't know if you've heard this song yet. No. This is a banger, Tony. This banger just came out this morning when Belichick walked away, by one of the great Patriot players. and a guy that maybe Raider fans don't like anymore. But Chandler Jones came out with a song for Bill Belichick today. I'll play a little bit for you. Ready?
I've heard it. Go ahead.
Belichick, oh, how I miss you. I just want to kiss you. They just got rid of you. Oh, Bill Belichick, you didn't flatten that ball. It was Tom Brady. You didn't Spygate. You didn't Deflategate. He's innocent. So why fire him when it should have been Mr. Kraft? Oh, Bill Belichick, as long as you cut the check, fire the wrong man. Why fire him? They called.
That's Chandler Jones with the Bill Belichick song right there. Chandler Jones on fire this morning. Why fire Bill Belichick? Should have fired Bill Kraft or Robert Kraft.
Robert Kraft. Oh, Bill Belichick. I love that. Was soulful and fantastic. Glad to see
right there.
Chandler Jones having fun, enjoying life, getting on social media and being entertaining. That was outstanding. Like, I'm so glad that I saw that.
It actually goes on for like a minute and a half of him just like putting random stuff out there like this. But yeah, you gotta love it. I saw that this morning. I was like, that would be great.
I'll download it and let it play. It was fun. But maybe it needs to be, get mastered and whatever all that other musical stuff is. But
if we can get it to number 1 in the charts by the end of today, like
I can't imagine that video is not going to be like massively viral. Like that thing's going to have millions and millions of views by the end of the day.
I just want to play it. I'll put it in the background and I'll make a video of me just like dancing to it.
Oh,
like,
Bill
hit it, Chandler. I know bangers, and that's a banger, dude.
That is great. But again, I think that's sort of the sentiment of a lot of people that play defense and a lot of people that know football way better than either of us, like especially on that side of the ball. And when you talk to the offensive players that had to go against them and they had to sort of compete and have that the mental gymnastics of like figuring out what he was going to do, it's really what made him the greatest. Like you watched it and you sat there and you're like, oh, it's going to happen again. Like battles with Peyton Manning or Ben Roethlisberger in the AFC, Phillip Rivers, like it was always him finding ways to play great defensive football against some of the best quarterbacks that we've ever seen. Even Mahomes towards the end, the end of the run there with Brady.
Yeah, and then I don't know. Yahoo put a video up today. Yahoo sounds like we're back in the fucking early 2000s. I'm talking about Yahoo, right? But Yahoo put a video up today, and it was Bill Belichick in like every team's hoodie, like the Falcons one. I was like, what the hell? I sent you the Charger one just to show you that one. They had the Washington Commanders. They even had them in Tampa Bay. They had them in all these different hoodies. And Tony, I've been telling people, NFL coaching free agency, this little carousel that's going on, when you have big names hit the market that don't normally or aren't supposed to or are a shock to people, like even Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel is a pretty damn good coach. A lot of players are coming out and backing right now. You have teams playing this weekend where if they don't perform as well as they want to, you're still going to have good teams fire more coaches. It's just like when a good player hits the market, you might have a good player at that position already, but if this guy's a little bit better and it makes you question it, you'll be like, all right, see you later. So I don't know where Belichick's going to end up. I don't know where Vrabel's going to end up. I know I don't want Belichick in Las Vegas because we've already had that damn experience with the Patriots, and it might be a little bit different, but I'll pass on it. But I'm just saying this NFL coaching carousel, it's not done. We have 25% of the league's coaches, Tony, right now are open. 25%. That's insane. That's insane. So I had something for you. right now, Tony, who do you think is the most tenured coach in the NFL right now?
Who's been coaching the longest?
Yeah.
I would say it's either Tomlin or Harbaugh.
So, yeah, you have Tomlin with 17 seasons and then Harbaugh at 16. Who do you think's after that?
After that, I would go maybe Sean McVay.
Andy Reid, 11 years.
Yeah. Forgot about Andy.
So then you're right with and then after that, so then it goes 6 what'd it go? It went 17 with Tomlin, 16 with Harbaugh, 11 with Andy Reid. Then you drop all the way down to 7 years of McDermott, Kyle Shanahan, and Sean McVay.
Yeah.
And then to round out the top 5 seasons, Zach Taylor and Matt LaFleur. So NFL coaches aren't getting shit for time right now. You better come in and you better win automatically, or you're out.
Yeah, I mean, and we've talked about this in the past. I mean, the Chargers fired Anthony Lynn with a winning record and thought they were pivoting in a positive direction. And I think that the pressure to win is really high, but I think it's also like finding ways to just stay relevant for a certain amount of time. Like, it's crazy to me that McDermott could be on the hot seat with the amount of injuries that they've sustained on that team this year, and for them to come back and win the division. And you still see reports that if Mike Tomlin, who is one of the best sort of beat 'em up, ugly cold weather football game coaches, beats Buffalo this weekend, that McDermott could be out. The reports that Tomlin might want to step away and take a year from the team, like that we could be losing that, like those two coaches too. It's insane for my brain to think that so many teams think that there are all of these better options out there than some of these coaches, right? Like, I feel like there has to be a little bit of sort of, back alley deals type stuff for them to move on from Belichick, from the Titans to move on from Vrabel. Like, I get that there's disagreements, but like, what if Tennessee ends up being like, well, we went for Mike Vrabel, now we're going to try Bobby Slowick? Like that could be the situation where it's like, and Bobby Slowick might be a tremendous coach. He's done a fabulous job in year one as OC with CJ Stroud, but you go from Vrabel to a guy who's had 1 year of coordinating an offense. Like, that to me just seems like a wild statement.
I don't know what Tennessee was thinking, and after hearing like all the former players and even like Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry is on his way out, but even like when he heard the news, he's like, what is going on? Like, if you have players backing them and your coach is doing well, I don't know why you're getting rid of them. But yeah, sometimes the grass isn't greener on the other side. Look, I'm a Raider fan. We've been through many fucking coaches over and over again. It's not always great to start over. It's good to have that little balance. And if you have a good coach, you hold on to him as long as you can. Don't let him go.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially if everything seems strong, it seems good. Like Ben Roethlisberger about a month ago or so came out and said that he felt like the Steelers culture was dying. And then Mike Tomlin did what he always does, finds a way to rally the troops and win a bunch of football games with Mason Rudolph. Like, are you kidding me? You think that if Mike Tomlin was able to even bring in a solid court, if Mike Tomlin got Kirk Cousins to Pittsburgh, they're winning 11, 12 games next year in that division.
Well, this is the argument that I'm having with Raider fans, Tony. And it's not, I like Antonio Pierce. I think he's a good coach. I think he'll be all right. He came in, changed the culture. But what I'm saying is, like, he had the Raiders for 10 weeks, right? So the sample size is kind of small. He changed the attitude, got him going. But why wouldn't the Raiders go after a bigger name like John Harbaugh or like Jim Harbaugh or one of these other guys to bring in that can change stuff? Because what you said about Mike Tomlin, and that's the example that I've used against Raider fans, is Mike Tomlin had a bad offensive coordinator in Matt Canada. It didn't work out. Pittsburgh fans were chanting everywhere, fire Canada, fire Canada, fire to Canada. He finally did. It took a couple weeks. He fixed the offense going into the playoffs. The Raiders had 10 weeks, and we're still blaming everything on Josh McDaniels of why that offense didn't work. So we had 10 weeks to fix that offense. So why? And so that's my one thing against Antonio Pierce is we didn't fix the offense. Where good coaches like Mike Tomlin will take it and go, hey, what the fuck's wrong with this defense or this offense here? Let's fix it and get it going. And he got it going.
But I wonder too, like, could they not pivot to a veteran quarterback that could have played more stable offense than Jimmy G? Or did they not want him to get hurt because there's some sort of injury guarantee on the contract maybe? Like, I don't know the details or the side of that, but I think part of the reason that the Steelers have had success is that they went to a veteran quarterback, a veteran backup. Like, Mason Rudolph is not the long-term starter in Pittsburgh. I don't care how this playoff run works out. If the Steelers go into next season with Mason Rudolph as the quarterback, that's not the direction that I think any of the fans would like them to be heading, or even players on their own team would be looking around going, wait, we're about to enter another one of these 18-week battles, and this guy, who was the third-string quarterback on the team last year, is now QB1? I don't think they'd be super psyched about that either. The Zach Taylor stuff, Booty Bandit put in here, I never really believed that he was on the hot seat. You know, like, I don't know where he's at in contract negotiations or whatever, but I can't see them moving away from Zach Taylor. Like, you go to back-to-back AFC championship games after having years and years and years of just bad football there. Like, I mean, there was some good Marvin Lewis.
He was saying Zach Taylor was on the hot seat the year before they went to the Super Bowl.
Oh, the year before they went. Yeah, I think that was. So what was it? Burrow's rookie season, he gets injured, and they finished the year with like Jeff Driscoll and somebody else.
Nobody liked Zach Taylor when he got hired. I think it was like what the hell is going on in Cincinnati? Oh, they're just looking for the next Sean McVay, and then it actually worked out pretty well for him.
Yeah, I think so too. And after the season he had with Jake Browning this year, I think Jake Browning had a better winning percentage than Joe Burrow this year. Like, you know, Zach Taylor was really in his bag. Although his brother, on the other hand, Press Taylor, the offensive coordinator for the Jaguars, I could see some potential movement at that spot, even though it hasn't been announced yet, depending on who's on the market. Let's talk about Pete Carroll. We're already 22 minutes into this. I know there's no time frame or structure.
I got this one lined up for Pete Carroll.
The clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
Could have been two-time Super Bowl winning coach. Could have been 1 yard away, Tony. 1 yard away.
What's funny is because the coach we opened up talking about, he added to that guy's, legacy of putting him as number one Mount Rushmore style coach on the mountain with that decision, that play call there. I'm probably never going to understand that. I won't care. I don't care if Marshawn Lynch got stopped on the first one. I don't care what the numbers were. If you're that close to a Super Bowl, you let your offensive line and Marshawn Lynch have 4 cracks at getting that ball into the end zone. I don't care what the numbers say.
I saw a sit down with Pete Carroll and Richard Sherman yesterday. I don't know where the hell it was from. It was a little clip that I was going through TikTok and it was on there. And he was sitting there and he was trying to tell Richard Sherman that we knew going to the goal line that we were going to have to pass 1 out of 4 times. And he goes, so we just something happened where they got the wrong personnel and they just said do the pass. Like, I don't believe that shit. Whatever you got to tell yourself to sleep at night after that bad call, you should have ran it, and everybody knows. But you still see coaches doing it today. Nobody has learned from Pete Carroll's mistake in the Super Bowl where they're still throwing you just saw it last weekend in Indianapolis where Jonathan Taylor runs for 180 yards and you bring in a third-string running back and throw the ball on 4th and 1.
I mean, we ran the play, we repped it all week. It's like sometimes I feel like they overthink situations where it's like, I get that you repped it, you practice these things or whatever, but when you have a hot hand, unless Jonathan Taylor really was injured, worse than we know, you just figure out how to get that guy the football and get the first down.
Yeah, because why? I mean, you got to run the play. You practice it all week.
Yeah.
Why, you're not going to waste all that time. You practice it all week. You got to run that damn play.
Exactly. And that sort of mentality to me is like, no, you don't. You absolutely do not have to trust your rookie undrafted running back, and that's it in the biggest moment of your season. You do not have to do that.
So the Pete Carroll stepping aside, whatever, it's fired. He got fired, but he's stepping aside, whatever it is. If you watch Pete Carroll's press conference, you could tell he kind of wants to coach again. Like, it feels like he has the passion. Tony, if Pete Carroll wants to be a rock star again and he wants to be the guy and he wants everybody to bow down to him, there's one team that he would go to and be an absolute god down there. And that's your team, the Los Angeles Chargers, because Pete Carroll is an icon in Los Angeles.
He is, but I don't necessarily think that is the case with Chargers fans, right? Like, and I don't know if he's going to convert a bunch of USC fans into Chargers fans.
Well, there's no Charger fans, so you can convert anybody you want.
You need to stop that shit, because I send you the videos from training camp where there's literally thousands of people out there every single day. Granted, it's tough to fill a 100,000 seat stadium with Chargers fans for 8-9 games a season. That's tough. I'll give you that. And when the Chargers win a Super Bowl, are there going to be a bunch of mockery videos of what our parade would look like? Yeah, there will be a bunch of that shit. But I don't care, because I will be drunk celebrating in whatever streets the parade is going down. And
if
I hope
the Chargers ever win the Super Bowl, I will go to that parade topless.
Oh, cut it out. Minute 27 of this podcast, Joe Morley will be at a Chargers parade.
Or one of those shirts that just go here and it just shows my nipple area.
Yes.
Like, either way, I'll be there, because I can make bets that the Chargers are going to win the Super Bowl, because it's never going to happen.
Oh, my goodness. Mike, I can't wait for you to clip this out and use this on TikTok. So Pete Carroll would be fantastic. And I think that what you said, you think he wants to, I know Pete Carroll is not done coaching. Like I just watching him and the energy that he has, even you saw him in training camp, running routes and throwing the football and all that. I thought that's the video you were going to bring up here for sure. But like, that to me is a guy that is like, I still got it. And I'm not worried about Pete's age at all. What I'm more so worried about is like how bad the defense has been for the better part of a decade. And it's not gotten better. And part of the reason that I had the Seahawks winning the NFC West this year was because they brought back Bobby Wagner, because the defensive players they drafted the year before and then added Devin Witherspoon. I really thought the defense was going to take a leap. And then when I would watch it this year, it was like, wait, they're giving up how many points to a bad football team or a backup quarterback, or, they're losing games to the Rams, which are not supposed to be like world beaters. I think they lost opening week without Cooper Kupp. Like, that was our introduction to Puka Nacua as a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. Yeah, I said it. Puka, top 5. But like, you can't think that all of a sudden it's just going to get better. And as a Chargers fan, if you're telling me that he couldn't figure it out in Seattle with all of that talent on defense, how can you bring him down to the Chargers and think that our defense is going to somehow get better? I can't buy that. I don't care how good his energy is and everything. Now, here's the spot I would say Pete Carroll to me would be tremendous for. And that would be in Carolina, because I think that David Tepper could maybe potentially be a little less hands-off with a guy like Pete Carroll, who has a history. Pete Carroll's also really good at working together, so maybe they can bring in a GM that him and Pete can work with. And the Carolina defense does have some talent, and we've seen that him with a younger quarterback is something that can build success.
Yeah. I don't actually I actually see Pete Carroll sitting out, but what I say, we have 8 head coaching jobs, Tony. Right now, we have the Panthers, Patriots, Raiders, Chargers, Falcons, Commanders, Titans, Seahawks. Right? Um, we've already talked about the Panthers spot. Like you just brought it up that maybe Pete Carroll would go there. You've always said somebody at the end of their career, kind of like Pete Carroll, go out there, get your big paycheck, see if you can do it, bring the fans back into to Carolina. Or I showed you videos of people saying, "Hey, you don't even have to be a good coach. Take that job, get the paycheck, get fired halfway through the season, and let Dave Tepper do his thing." Uh, your number one destination, if you're a head coach, if you're a top head coach right now, what's the top? Let's say top 3 destinations for NFL coaches right now.
So I would say the Chargers number 1. I think if you can get up to a place where the quarterback is there, he's cemented, he's under contract, he's shown that he can be really good, I think that's the number 1 spot. The number 2 spot that I would probably go to is I kind of like where the Washington Commanders are at because of the draft pick that they have. Like, I know that the defense is going to need work, but if you can get into that spot where there's some cap space and you can pick your quarterback, that to me feels like a good spot. And then the third place, just because I feel like Robert Kraft wants to try and build one more winner, like he's getting old. I could see that again because of the draft pick that you're going to get this year, and knowing how good ownership is, that it's an attractive job. Because I think you either need to have the resources to get the future quarterback, or you need to have the quarterback in place. I don't think there's one perfect job where it's like, hey, there's tremendous ownership here and the quarterback's in place. Like, because we don't really know what the ownership group is going to be like in Washington. We don't really know what the quarterback situation is going to look like in New England. We know and we think the quarterback for the Chargers, whether you think he's overrated, underrated, or whatever, he's at least a top 10 guy in your estimate, in anybody's estimation, right? For some people, higher than that. But you don't trust the ownership, the Spanos family.
You would think with all the jobs that are open, the 8 jobs that are open, the Chargers have Justin Herbert and the Panthers have Bryce Young. So those are the 2 that are set at quarterback that next year you're not changing those quarterbacks. Yeah, there's 6 jobs. You could pick your quarterback or you could do something with it or inherit who they have. But and like you said, the Chargers are in a good position. Like if you want to be a coach and you want to go somewhere that has a great quarterback, there you go. You already have it. You have a great stadium, great facilities, right? And a newer team, SoFi Stadium's an awesome stadium to go to. But the only issue with them is you're an aging team with a little bit of salary cap issues, right? You got about $35 million to spend, but then you got your center retiring in Corey Lindsey, and then you got to deal with what you're going to do with Boza and Mack and all that. And sometimes it's good because you can go in there and get rid of some of these older players, bring in the young talent, and see what happens. And as long as you got the quarterback, I mean, you're going to lose it. What Eckler is already saying that he's gone, so. That's the only issue with that job would be the cap money and some of the veteran guys. But is that even a big deal? Like sometimes you go in and you change the stuff up anyways. You don't want some of those guys that have been around for a long time when you're trying to implement a new program. So that's a good thing. I saw what you saw about Washington, and like you said about Washington, the good thing is they have the number 2 pick and a lot of salary cap. The only thing about that is they got bad facilities. Like that's a shitty. How many people want to go play in Washington until they get their new facilities, their new program? I think it would be hard to get it, especially with the Eagles dominating the way they are, the Cowboys playing as good as they are. You really want to go to that division and play over there. To be honest with you, Tony, so I'm going to start with the worst job. I think Carolina's the worst job.
Yes.
Because they have no pick, no first-round pick. They have a bad owner that you're on a short leash. And you're stuck with the rookie quarterback that you're going to have expectations to fix. I think that's the worst job. The second worst job, I think, is Tennessee. That's going to be a complete rebuild. Yeah. And then I don't know what the owner thinks about Will Levis or whatever is going on there, but I think those are the 2 worst jobs that I would stay away from. Now, one job that's interesting to me is the Atlanta Falcons. And we gave Arthur Smith a whole bunch of shit, Tony. We talked a lot of shit about him because of how many weapons he has. The dude had a great running game, then went out there and drafted the best college running back in the league and didn't use them. Like, what is going on? Then you have Drake London. You have Kyle Pitts, the generational talent tight end, right? You have all these guys. You got your defense to finally do something, but you couldn't get it going. Now they do have less money, I think, on the salary cap than the Chargers. So I don't think they're going to be in a little bit salary cap hell right there. But they have a lot of draft picks within the first 3 rounds. So that one right there is a little interesting to me, is the Atlanta Falcons. And I might put that one higher on my list.
So if I would have finished my top 4, I would have went Atlanta and then the Raiders. Like those would have been my next 2 spots. And I could make an argument for flipping the Raiders to 4 and the Falcons to 5 because of the cap situation for Atlanta. But really, like, if Atlanta could just come out of the gate hot and say, hey, Ben, here's what we're going to do. We want you to come down here. I want you to tell me which quarterback you want me to target. And if it's a trade for Justin Fields, if it's going and offering Kirk Cousins, all the peaches in Georgia, like whatever it takes, whatever you want this offseason, I'll get you that quarterback. Because if Ben Johnson comes in and gets Kirk Cousins with the offense that's already in place, like the Falcons are definitely going to be a contender in the NFC next year if that offense can transfer from Detroit to Atlanta. Like, I have no doubt that they would be winning an NFC South next year. Every year winning with a 500 or below 500 record. Like, I went and looked it up the other day. The Bucs have won that division the last 2 years with a 17-17 record. That's ridiculous.
Well, every year we were like, is somebody going to be at least 500 to win that division? Like, oh, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. And then they start playing good at the end of the season. I think they were 9-8 this year that took it.
Yeah, and they were 8-9 last year. So over the last 2 seasons, the Bucs have been NFC South champions, and they were 17-17 total over 2 seasons. So
ridiculous.
It's not great there. I think a guy like Todd Bowles is going to be safe. He's going to get another year. They're going to get another chance to figure out what's going on with the Buccaneers. People are starting to talk about Nick Sirianni, could he be out? But I think more people are talking about it just because of the intrigue, like you said, with the names that are on the market. Yeah. And we've already seen the Eagles. It's like, hey, we're not afraid to move off of Andy Reid. I don't care if he went to 1 Super Bowl and 4 NFC championship games in a 5-year span. Like Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl. I don't care. We'll move on to Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni was the Super Bowl last year. Bill Belichick's available. Deuces. Like,
this is how I don't get how the Bears came out yesterday and say, yeah, we're good with Matt Eberflus. Like, with all these names on the market, now you're like, yeah, this is our guy. Matt Eberflus, we never had any questions about it. This is going to be our guy going out for the rest of the year. Like, if you have a coach that's shaky right now, that you're not 100% sold on, how the hell are you keeping him right now?
That's the thing to me that's weird, that I feel like they already know they can't get Harbaugh. Because Harbaugh, outside of, like, I want him to either coach the Michigan Wolverines for the next 10 years or come coach the Chargers for the next 10 years. Like, that's it. Those are the 2 spots I want him. I realize that might not happen, but, like, outside of the Chargers job, if you're Jim Harbaugh, like, I would assume that the Bears would be the most attractive position for him because he does have the ties of the former player, just like he does with the Chargers, being in that organization. And there's good, sort of like, hey, I never got it done as a player. Let's go get it done as a coach, kind of like what he did with Michigan. So you go to the Bears, you've got draft capital, you've got cap space, you've got defensive players in line, you've got offensive players in line, and you're going to get to pick your quarterback. Like, and I could see him taking that job and saying, you know what? I like Drake May. Drake May is my kind of guy. Like, this is what we're going to get him, and we're not going to play fancy football. We're going to run it 30 times a game in cold, windy Chicago. Although, isn't Chicago building an indoor stadium? Like, their new...
I know they're building a new stadium. I haven't seen the
which is like, it's weird because, and it'll definitely help them get a career passer over 4,000 yards. But I would see that job being
100 yards away.
I would see that job being very enticing to Harbaugh, but they've already said like Eberflus is our guy and that's who we're going to ride with. And to me, great, fantastic. If that's what you think is the right direction, good for the Bears. I don't really root against the Bears just because they've not been like a powerhouse or anything in my lifetime. They've had a couple good seasons here and there, but never like sheer dominance.
Yeah. And to go back to coaching, like, so I like the Atlanta Falcons. I do like the Charger job. I think that's an intriguing job, especially the market that you're in. You're in the LA market. You can, if you're a good coach and you can bring some players in, you're going to do it. And then I don't want to put the Raiders in the top 3 because I like what the Raiders have, right? You saw the potential in the defense, but I think besides Antonio Pierce, if you're a head coach and you take that job, you have an uphill battle right away because the Raiders just left a bad relationship with Josh McDaniels, and now everybody and their mom is in love with Antonio Pierce, and just not the coaching of Antonio Pierce, just the person of Antonio Pierce, right? So now you're already going to have a shitload of the fan base that hates you on you because you're not Antonio Pierce and because they don't consider you a Raider or whatever it is. So even if it's Harbaugh, how can you complain? If you're a Raider fan, how can you complain if Harbaugh comes in over Antonio Pierce? If Mike Vrabel comes in over Antonio Pierce? You can't complain, but they're going to come in there. And then you have to deal with Mark Davis, who some people have questions about and maybe is too involved or doesn't know what he's doing, right? So there's questions there. And then on top of that, Tony, not only do you have to deal with that, you're going to have a lot of money. Raiders have some, I think there's like 6th most cap space. So you have some money. But now, since you're not Antonio Pierce, how's the locker room going to take you? Because the locker room fell in love with Antonio Pierce. The players have come out. Devontae Adams, Max Crosby, all these guys have come out and said, we want Antonio Pierce as our head coach. And the rumor has it, if it's not Antonio Pierce that comes back, then some players are going to be like, we want out. And I've been trying, like, that's why I haven't put the Raiders as a top destination, even though I am a Raider fan and I like the Raiders. There's a lot of question marks for a new coach to come in there.
There is, but I think they could find a way with the right coach to get a quarterback to come there. I hate to say good things about the Raiders, but if I was in charge of making decisions, I would roll with Antonio Pierce. I would go out and I would find an offensive coordinator that drives, that really jives with the philosophy of what you want to do, which is like be a really strong defensive football team and ones that runs the ball a lot. I find ways to, bolster the offensive line in ways that you could maybe go out and overpay for an up and coming or one of the best offensive line coaches. I don't have enough information on that, but I'm sure there's got to be somebody out there that could come in and help in that aspect. I do think, however, like it would be foolish for them to not interview some of these guys, like interview Mike Vrabel, interview Harbaugh, interview Ben Johnson. Like, why wouldn't you, at least see how that feels, how you think that would look, because the attitude and the entertainment side of it that Antonio Pierce is bringing for the fans and the identification of Raider, whatever, I'm a Raider, all this stuff. It's like, that's only going to take you so far, especially if you're having to coach against potentially Sean Payton, Andy Reid, and Harbaugh or Bill Belichick or something like that. Like that, it starts to get pretty tough to win games on attitude.
That's what I told Raider fans. I go, okay, say Mark Davis gives in. He goes, here, Antonio Pierce, you're the head coach. The players want you. The fans want you. And somehow next year goes wrong, right? And you're 3-6 looking at next year. There better not be one person crying in there going, fire Antonio Pierce. And then you look over at the Chargers and they got Harbaugh or Vrabel or some other coach that's undefeated at that time. And they're like, we should have hired them. If Mark Davis gives us what they wanted, they give the fans and the players what you wanted. there better not be one person complaining next year if the shit doesn't go right.
So I think that's a sign of kind of like just the erratic, shitty nature that we're in, where it's like we can't back somebody for more than 6 games in their first season as the official head coach. Like that was sort of my problem with the Chargers. It's like when Staley didn't get fired after the Jaguars game, what benefit do I have of saying, like all the comments would be on the videos, I'm not going to be a fan again until they get rid of Staley, fire Staley. It's like the season hasn't even started yet. And then how the game ends in week 1 against Miami, all of a sudden, just the craziness of fire Staley go nuts. It's like, all right, now we've gone through 2 seasons. You go to Kansas City and you get your ass whipped in the first half, and then you play miraculous defense in the second half. And it's like, well, why weren't we playing that kind of defense in the first half? And the players are coming out and saying, yeah, I don't know why we were in these soft zones. Like they killed us for 363 yards in the first half of the game. And then we played more man in the second half and they scored 7 points. It's like, okay, I'm out. Staley, I'm out. And that's fine. But to be 2-4 next year and Raiders fans would be like, we hired the wrong guy. This is terrible. It's like, that to me is just the climate we live in, social media wise, and just how people are. You can't ride with your guy for 1 season.
It's crazy. No, it's crazy how people forget how bad your franchise is, or or how much it takes to turn a franchise around. It doesn't matter if the Chargers, there's 8 openings right now, Tony. 8 openings, and if one of these new coaches start out bad, their fan base is going to be all excited right today when they hire him, and then in 2 months of the season, they're going to be like, "Why do we hire this guy? This is dumb." It's crazy how the fan bases are turning on people so quickly and against people. Like I can only speak from experience from a Raider fan. Like we just went through one of the bad coaching things in Josh McDaniels. Then we got Antonio Pierce that brought us back. How do we rush into finding a new head coach? I'm all about, like you said, Tony, interview as many people as you can. What does it hurt? If Antonio Pierce is the guy that you want, or if Jim Harbaugh is the guy that you want, whoever the guy you bring in the building, you already like going in here, you go, this is my list of the guys that I want. I want Tony Tucker as my head coach, right? Good idea. I'm gonna interview every single person, and I'm gonna say how they match up against you, and go from there. Because you never know, you might run into somebody that, hey, oh damn, we clicked off a little bit better. Hey, we did this. I kind of like him, and some of these teams don't have general managers yet, like the Raiders. They don't have hire a general manager before you hire a head coach, please, because it makes no sense for you to bring in a GM and a coach, and that you hired both of them, and now they're not on the same damn page, and your season's ruined anyway.
So here's the only objection I have to that. I do think there are some personalities, especially with these established coaches. I would much rather prefer hiring Vrabel, Harbaugh, Belichick for sure. I would prefer hiring all 3 of those guys first and then saying, hey, let's figure out who the general manager is going to be. Let's figure out somebody you can work with. Somebody who's going to say, hey, we're going to compile all the stats of the incoming college players, all the potential free agents, all the players that might be available for trade, and we're going to get together, and then we're going to let you make the decision on what to do. Because I think that's sort of been the issue with teams like New England. I think it could be the issue with somebody like Harbaugh. If a GM's already hired and Harbaugh's like, wait, who's this guy bringing me in here? Like, how am I supposed to coach these guys? They don't fit what I want to do. I think hiring somebody with a big personality, you might need to hire them first and then get them on board with them picking from 1 or 2, maybe 3 GMs that you've interviewed that you like. But I think overall, yes, most of these teams should be hiring a general manager first. Like if I was the Panthers, I would definitely be trying to land that GM that I think is going to absolutely crush it in the draft and find, little nuggets here and there in free agency and stuff like that to make us competitive.
Well, I'm gonna throw my name in there for you know what? If maybe the Carolina Panthers, you need a head coach, come get me right now. I've won multiple flag football championships being a head coach. I'm about to win my 2nd Super Bowl on Madden in rookie mode. About to win that one. Put that down right there. I can watch the NFL Network and ESPN on draft day, and whatever they say is the top 3 prospects that we should pick or that the fans vote, I'll just draft that player, and we'll have A pluses because the announcers and everybody in the media will like what we're taking, right? So, Dave Tepper, I'll come in. I'll give you a deal, Dave. I know you're already paying Matt Rule and Frank Wright, so I'll make you a deal. $3 million. I'll come in there and I'll run your team for you. Let's do it. And I'll do both. I'll do a head coach and GM. And Tony, you want to come with me? We could do this.
I do not want to be tied to that sinking ship at all. I will wish you luck, and I'll say, hey, that's my friend who's running that Titanic straight into that iceberg. I'll
even have a PlayStation on the sideline. So if I need a secret play, I'll run back there and I'll ask Madden and be like, what play are we running, Madden? And then I'll call it in there. I'll be like, all right, Bryce Young, here's the play. Boom, boom, boom.
There is I love it. I'm all for it. Joe Morley to general manager / head coach of the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers to me is going to be.
Could they get worse? Could they be any worse, Tony? If a fan comes in and runs their organization, could it be worse than what they put out there this year?
It's going to, yeah, it definitely could be worse. I think that I think the Panthers' job is very interesting because, again, the money's going to be enticing, but just the opportunity to coach a team, to me, it has to be somebody that's already coached and is looking for a big payday. If I was a first-time head coach, I don't care how much money he offered me. I'd be like, nope, I'm going to sit tight here and I'm going to wait for an opportunity that I think can really work out. Because there's a little bit of worry about Shane Steichen going to somebody like Jim Irsay, who's a little bit erratic, but then he comes out right away and just proves, oh yeah, I'm on that level of, coaching, play calling ability with McVay and Shanahan and stuff like that. Now, obviously, we're going to want to see that, happen in year 2 and 3. Like there needs to be some longevity. But for what he did this year with Gardner Minshew, who's a backup in the NFL, not a starter, I feel a lot of optimism for where the Colts are heading.
Jim Irsay could come off as that guy that fires Shane Steichen this year just to hire Bill Belichick. That's how crazy that organization is.
That would be the craziest news. We would do an emergency pod. I would do one myself if you fired Shane Steichen.
Get online right now. We're doing this right now. Yeah. How stupid Irsay. Because Irsay, I don't know, he can go to the bathroom for an hour and think about it and do whatever he does in there and then come out and be like, you know what? Going with Belichick.
Honestly, I think Shane Steichen would move to the top of my board right next to Harbaugh. That's how much I like Shane Steichen. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, wait, he was in the Chargers building, 72 months ago. And now has a chance to win Coach of the Year because of what he did with that offense. So
how much are the Eagles missing Shane Steichen right now?
Yes, I agree with that. To the point where Nick Sirianni seems to be on some sort of a hot seat, which doesn't make any sense to me. But
okay,
fine.
last thing on the coaching thing. Because this is ridiculous. I love to talk a lot of shit about the 49ers. You know that. I'm a big 49er troll. I love it. 49ers, Cowboy fans. But it seems like 49er fans, I can just hit them, and I know where to hit them, and it's personal. And I hit them right in the nuts, and they start crying all the time. And they buy right into everything I'm trolling them with. But Tony, holy crap. In my group chat with a bunch of Niner fans from my fantasy league, I got there's 12 of us in there, and I think 6 of them are Niner fans. It's nuts. And then in my comment section, because I troll a lot of Niner fans, so I get a lot of Niner fans that follow me and talk. The crap that they're saying, Tony, if the Niners don't win the Super Bowl this year, they want Kyle Shanahan fired. They want Shanahan out of there already if he doesn't win. And I'm just I'm sitting there going, please do it. Please do it. That would be amazing. And I talk shit about Shanahan just to do it. I love to troll the Niners. And I would love for that to happen. But I can't believe Niner fans are even out there talking about firing Shanahan. Shanahan
would be number one, best everybody if he became available. Like, that would be outrageous. Like, him or Sean McVay, to me, in a league that's trending offensively, to get those guys in the prime of their life, I would say those are number one and number two, however you would, if they became available. Obviously, McVay is not, but in this weird world, they would do that. The 49ers are going to be fine. They're going to smash the Eagles or the Buccaneers, and then they're going to get a home playoff game to go to the Super Bowl against the Dallas Cowboys. And the 49ers, to me, are all but already in Las Vegas. Like, their fans can make, hotel reservations and go and party it up for a week, because I do not see, Cowboys were my Super Bowl pick. They were my pick to go represent the NFC. I can't imagine them going up to Santa Clara and winning a football game.
And if you haven't booked a room in Las Vegas for the Super Bowl, it actually got cheaper now. It's actually getting a lot cheaper. I guess Vegas overbooked or overpriced everything months ago, and now it's starting to get cheaper. So, like, some people are canceling reservations and getting rooms for $600, $700 cheaper. So if you're looking to go to Vegas, there's a thing for you.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of teams who thought they might be going got rid of their rooms. Got some vacancies there, just like in the coaching ranks. Let's talk about the 6 games, and we'll just go in order here. We'll put up this graphic and go this way. So, Steelers, Bills. Who you got?
Steelers, Bills. No TJ Watt, Tony. No TJ Watt in this game. 1-10 without TJ Watt. He means a lot to him. He's the corner piece to that defense. I think the Bills have been a little hot. Would I be shocked if the Steelers pull the upset? Hell no. We've seen the Steelers do worse things. I just don't. I'm not going to pick it. I'm not going to pick the upset. I'm going with the Buffalo Bills in this.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bills, but I think it's just going to be an anxiety-filled game for Bills fans, kind of like many of their games have been. In like a real close sort of 19-16 swirling wind, Tyler Bass, end of the game field goal. Sean McDermott is just sweating bullets over there, wondering if he's going to have a job, but they'll find a way to pull it out. I've seen some people say, the Bills should cruise in this game. It's like, should they really? Because they weren't cruising past Easton Stick and the Chargers, and that game was in perfect condition for the Bills. Because everybody keeps saying, Joe, the Bills are built for this weather. Are they? They don't run the football like the Steelers do or have been the past couple of weeks. They don't.
But they got playoff Lenny.
They've been committed to the run for sure, and it's been a little bit better. But they're just like, to me, they're more built for good weather than they are built for the actual weather that they get in Buffalo. So I think the game is close. Again, too, it's Mike Tomlin, and if these rumors are even a little bit true that he's thinking about stepping away, he's throwing the kitchen sink he's just telling his coordinators to just go full tilt.
Well, and that's the thing about the Steelers. They have nothing to lose. They backdoored it into the playoffs, got in there, and you're a team that, like, hey, because Jacksonville fucked up the whole rest of the last of the season, you snuck in there. You have no right to be in the playoffs. Go in there and just do whatever you can. As long as you got that chip and you got that chair, you can win the whole damn thing. You have to be aggressive, though. Don't sit back there, get the lead, and then try to go, let's not do this. Use George Pickens. Use all your – Najee Harris has come on the last couple of weeks. Get that offense going and put some points up, and you can be – like, we're not sitting here – I'm not going to sit here and say Buffalo's as dominant as they've been. I think this is one of the worst Buffalo teams we've seen in the last couple of years. Josh Allen – still getting all these praises. All these people still going, Josh Allen is great. I saw a thing yesterday. He's thrown 17 more touchdowns than interceptions. He's still throwing like 12 interceptions. And he still has had a turnover in 8 in the last 8 games, Tony, Josh Allen. And they're trying to make Josh Allen to be somebody that he's not. They're trying to make him the next Peyton Manning and great quarterback that we've seen, and he's not. He's not going to be that guy. We're building him up to be that. And it's turning me to be a Josh Allen hater, and I don't want to be a Josh Allen hater. But boy, would I love to see Josh Allen fail this weekend against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I would love to I would like to see him throw 2 pick sixes on back to back and be like, Josh Allen was the reason, because I saw who was talking about it yesterday. I think it was Mike Greenberg, and he was like, Josh Allen he's done this, he's thrown the most touchdowns, and the only person that has thrown more touchdowns in the last 2 seasons is Dak Prescott. And I was like, but if Dak Prescott throws a pick six, we're fucking ripping his ass up. We're going off on Dak. So I don't understand the love on Josh Allen, and maybe I'm just going too much hated because I've seen all the love on him, but I think Josh Allen gets too much praise and not enough hate. So
I only get mad when people start telling me how way better he is than Herbert, but I stick up and root for Josh Allen more. So I do not want to see him completely implode at all. I like Josh Allen. He seems like he'd be a cool, fun person to play around to golf with, have some beers, laugh, joke, make some dumb bets. He's kind of like Brett Favre, though, right? Without the MVPs and the Super Bowl win and in the multiple appearances, he's kind of like Brett Favre. Like, you live and die with that. And to me, that's fun. Like, I love that. As a fan, it's like, I want you giving everything you got, making some decisions based on your confidence in moments that are ill-advised, because when they hit, it's exciting and it's a wild ride. Let's go to what's the next game down there in that middle bracket. Miami, KC, Joe. What happened to the Dolphins this year is the same thing that happened last year, where they start hot, they start to cool down, and then end up with a terrible matchup in the playoffs. Now, last year they had to have that matchup with Skylar Thompson, and they almost pulled it off. Here's the one way I think that Miami could win this football game is Mike McDaniel drafts up the greatest running scheme we've ever seen. Like, that to me is the secret to this game. Like, and I'm talking about getting Waddle in on some end arounds, Tyreek Hill on some like sneaky shovel passes at like the 50-yard line, A-Chain and Mostert finding ways to get them speedy downhill. Like, it's going to have to be one of those games, I think, where they run the ball significantly more, maybe 40 runs to 15 pass plays type of a situation, but they're using Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle actually in the running game, and they're hitting some explosive plays that way, because with the weather and everything that's going on, like wind and all this shit there, like, it just feels like a nightmare scenario for the Dolphins.
Yeah, it's 0 degrees. The city of Kansas City is like, maybe we shouldn't be playing this game here for fan safety and player safety. Like, it's going to be that damn cold. And what wins games like that, Tony? I don't even care if it's Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be Isaiah Pacheco and that run game. Kansas City finds a run game in the postseason. They always do, and they're going to run the ball. And like you said, Miami needs to do it, but Miami is too banged up to even go out there. There's so many injuries. And Miami and the Chiefs played earlier this year. Granted, they were both 100%, and they played in London. And it was 21-14. It was the final of that game. And the Chiefs won that game. And the Chiefs aren't the Chiefs of the past. Like, they don't have any receivers, but they're finding ways to win. And I'm telling you right now, I just see the Chiefs running all the way down the throat, keeping Miami's offense or whatever, even if Jalen Waddle and Mostert are playing, they're going to keep them on that sideline. And the Chiefs are going to control that game and control the ball. And it's going to be a quick game because the clock's going to keep running. And Andy Reid sneaks out of there with the victory and shows how great of a coach he is.
Joe, and when we sit here in 2 weeks and we're talking about Kansas City hosting its 8th consecutive AFC Championship game against the Cleveland Browns or whatever it is, I am going to be so annoyed, and I'm going to be such a Browns fan when we are talking about that game, if that is the case.
The NFL put this game on Peacock, which is fucking bullshit. Stop it, NFL, with all these damn apps. Like, it's bad enough we got to deal with Amazon on every Thursday. Peacock is even worse.
It is.
God. You got the Texans and the Browns, Tony. Last time the Browns and the Texans played, I don't know if you remember it. Because I remember it. I remember it like it was yesterday, because Amari Cooper was on the team that I was playing in the fantasy championship or in the semifinals, and they couldn't stop Amari Cooper like it was like a bloody nose that you couldn't stop. He was just kept coming and kept coming. And then the clot, you get that clot, and then guess what? He breaks right through. They couldn't stop Amari Cooper. They made him look like a Hall of Famer in that game.
They did. Remember the text I sent you was like, I'll never pass on Amari Cooper again. And then I think it was like the next week or a week later, I was like, I'll never draft Amari Cooper in fantasy football. Wild swings of emotion in our text chat.
Like you thought, he got enough, right? Nope. Let's keep feeding Amari Cooper.
Yep. Fantastic. I'm taking the Browns in this game. I think Joe Flacco he's got enough weapons, enough experience. And then I also like the Cleveland defense. Houston's going to be one of those interesting teams because I think this offseason, just the way CJ Stroud's played, everybody's going to be hyped on them. But if they lose Bobby Slowick, how does that look? Their schedule, they're going to have a first place schedule next year. It's going to be a little bit tougher just based on potential matchups. But I'll take Cleveland close. I won't be surprised if CJ Stroud comes out and has a stellar game because Cleveland's defense hasn't been amazing on the road. But
CJ Stroud didn't play the first time they played.
I know, but I tend to lean veteran quarterback, veteran coach, defense is amazing. All of those things to me say, 26-24 Cleveland win.
As much as I want to go with the Texans, and I would love to see that story of D'Amico Ryans taking the team, it's not going to happen. I'm going with Joe Flacco and the Browns as well, but I think Houston puts up a good fight. It's going to be a better game than last time.
For sure. I think this is the game that I'm probably most excited to watch just because of the unknown with CJ Stroud in the postseason. And an amazing story by Joe Flacco. Like to be that old and play this well when he looked so cooked with the Jets. He couldn't stand upright. He was fumbling the ball every other play. Do you remember that with the Jets? Like every time he dropped back, he'd be getting smashed because that line was so porous.
Was it you that came, or I don't know where it was. Maybe I think it was you. I thought it was you or Mike that said I wonder who the guy in the Browns building that said let's bring in Joe Flacco. And what looks he probably got when he brought that up?
I don't know if I said that in here, but I definitely thought it for sure. Bodo's in the house. What's going on, brother?
Who we should bring in? Let's bring in Joe Flacco. And then everybody was like, the fuck? What do we got to lose? Let's do it. Let's bring him in. I think you texted us during the game last week, and you were like, if you're the Browns' fifth or sixth quarterback this year, are you even an NFL quarterback?
Yes, I did text you that. Like, if you're QB5 for a Cleveland Browns organization, are you really an NFL quarterback? Like, I don't believe that to be the case. Let's put this board back up. Move on to the next one here. Packers Cowboys. This to me,
Packers are 9-1 in the last 10 games against the Dallas Cowboys.
Agreed. That is a fact, a statement. They were being quarterbacked in games by Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers.
Now you got the great Jordan Love.
Not Jordan Love. This to me feels a little bit like how the season ended for the Chicago Bears, where everybody was on fields. The fans are chanting his name, and everybody's been really locked in on Jordan Love. But if we really think about it, he's had a wildly up and down season. Starts off the season kind of hot, is able to win that game in like week 3 against the Saints where they put up 18 points in the fourth quarter. Dennis Allen completely goes to sleep in that game. Like, he then hits, a bit of a cold streak where we're watching games and I'm like, wasn't it the Raiders that smashed him and he couldn't hit an open wide receiver? It's like, this dude is not good. I remember texting you guys thinking like Jordan Love can't play. Then all of a sudden he hits another heater and he's going off and going upside the head of the Vikings and all these other teams. If this game ended with the Cowboys winning 40-10 in this game, where the defense just pours it on, Jordan Love throws the ball high a couple times, gets picked off by Deron Bland, are we really going to be shocked about that? And then the narrative will be like, maybe Jordan Love's not as good as we thought he is. Maybe Jordan Love is just young and inconsistent.
Yeah, a lot of people at work were trying to tell me like, "Hey, let's put $20 in, and we're gonna bet on the Packers." And I was like, "No, thank you. I'll keep my $20, and you should keep yours too because it's gonna be not that good of a game." I think it'll be close in the first half, but I think the Dallas Cowboys handle business early. They're 8-0 at home. I don't give a damn about the 9-1 record. 7 seeds, I think, are 0-8 or something like that in the last couple of years too. Like, I'm not doing it. I'm not buying into that one. So I mean, we can move on to this. Okay, I'll talk about that in a minute. But the Rams and the Lions, Tony. Rams and the Lions. We all saw this one coming a couple weeks ago, right? The way they were playing, we were like, here we go. This one's going to be a good one. Rams and the Lions. Matthew Stafford going back to Detroit. The Detroit Lions have put a ban. I don't know who did it. I don't know if it was the Lions, but they put a ban that no Matthew Stafford jerseys in Motor City in the playoffs. Like, I think that's bullshit. And I think you just lit a torch that you didn't need to do. Like, you don't think Matthew Stafford is going to go, okay, nobody's going to support me? Okay, I thought I was going to come in here and just have a great time against my former team, but now it's personal. Let's play this game. I was going back and forth, Tony, and I was like, I like the Lions, right? But then the Lions got a lot of injuries last week, and I went back and I was looking at the Rams, and I was like, maybe they had some fluke wins. No, they've been playing with some good teams the last couple of weeks. I mean, it was 37-31 overtime in the Ravens game, right? With the Rams and the Rams. And I think the Rams are going to come in there and they're just going to have fun with the Detroit Lions this weekend. Lions fans, welcome to the playoffs, but you're going to walk right in, take the hat off, and then pick it back up and walk right back out.
So, real quick here, Bodo says he thinks the Steelers have a chance getting that 10-7 record. Thinks that the Bills suck. I do think the Steelers have a shot in this game. I'm picking the Bills 19-16, but I do think that Steelers have a chance. As for this game, Joe, my heart is with the Detroit Lions 1,000%. With my grandfather just turned 93. He's in a military veteran home up in Michigan. I got video of him. He's watching the games. You know, there's a bunch of Lions fans there. They're all. Well, my head says that Sean McVay and the Rams are going to go in and torch this Lions secondary. That they will have answers for Aiden Hutchinson in this game. I don't think they'll be able to generate much other pass rush. And Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are going to be able to eat. But then on top of that, they're going to be able to find ways to get Kyron Williams in the run game going. Like, sitting these guys in the week 18, I think was a smart move for what they have. Who
knows Jared Goff better than Sean McVay?
And Raheem Morris. Like, this is it's one of those things where I keep seeing Aaron Glenn as he's like, oh, he's being interviewed as a head coach. And I'm like, really? The Lions defense has been so bad this year. Like, really? He's getting interviews? Because I'm not seeing Raheem Morris's name getting interviews. And I think he's done a tremendous job. The development of third-round pick Byron Young, the development of third-round pick Kobe Turner, like, that is, you know, like, and some of these other young guys in their secondary out there, Witherspoon, kind of rough. Like, I do think that there's areas where the Lions can also take advantage of them, but I think this is one of those high-scoring, fun playoff games that we're going to watch, and I will be rooting for the Lions with everything. Like, I would love for the Lions to go on a run to the Super Bowl this year.
Well, I think the ideal Super Bowl for any NFL fan that watches NFL, I think the ideal Super Bowl would be the Browns versus the Lions. I think that would be amazing. Two cities that have been down on their luck, two passionate fan bases, and never been to Super Bowl, and that would be a great Super Bowl. Because at what point do you don't give a damn who wins that game? You would be like, that would be awesome.
Lions would be another one that I would love to see.
So, I mean, you just don't want to see the same teams over and over. But I don't know. Like you said, Tony, Sean McVay is very, especially now, how he has this team going, and a big difference from the start of the season to what they are now. I think the Rams started 3-6. Is that what it was? And they turned that around quickly.
Yeah, they I think they've won like every game that they didn't play the Ravens for like the last 2 months or something like that. And like up until, oh no, they did. They beat the 49ers. Carson Wentz, return to the NFL. Welcome back.
Oh, yeah.
Carson Wentz, viable starter for one of these, bridge quarterback type,
And the last time the Niners were the favorites to go to the Super Bowl, who would they run into?
The Rams.
Sean McVay and the Rams. So last game of the weekend, Tony, is the Eagles and Buccaneers. Your thoughts on that one? A lot of people are saying this could be the biggest upset with Baker Mayfield going in and doing that because the way the Eagles have been playing. Your thoughts?
I don't think it's an upset. I don't think beating the Eagles right now is an upset, but just based on the record. When they've looked the way they've looked over the last 3 weeks of the season, to me, beating that team isn't an upset. Fine. It could be a Vegas-style upset, but like it all depends on how healthy Baker Mayfield is because he took a shot in that game and he looked brutal. And he's looked kind of bad in these last 2 games when they lost to the Saints and then they barely beat the Panthers in Week 18. It's like if he can be healthy enough to take advantage of the secondary, which I think is a possibility, like they've got Trey Palmer, who's made some nice plays for them down the field this year. Mike Evans, who can win downfield this year, working over the middle of the field to Godwin and Otten. I think there's an opportunity for the Bucs to score some points here. Then it relies on how well can Todd Bowles figure out how to bring some interesting pressure in the game. Because in that first half where Jalen Hurts played last week, I'm like, what's the game plan? What are we doing? Like Wink Martindale is going to blitz, and there was no answers for what was going on for the Eagles in that game. Like we all knew what Wink was going to do. And it just seemed like, oh, wait, this team is a team that blitzes at a 70% rate. Like it was very confusing and frustrating to watch that game. When my projection was for the Eagles to win the division, they didn't put up a fight.
I saw somebody say that the Eagle fans, diehard Eagle fans, sit at the bar and go, okay, this is the play that they're going to run next. And the fans are calling the plays before the Eagles even say hike. Like that's how predictable that offense is. So that's why somebody said Wink Martindale took advantage of it, and that's why they think Todd Bowles can do the same thing. I think the Eagles somehow find a way to sneak out of this one and win this one. But I don't see the Eagles doing a lot in the playoffs. But I do think they get through this Tampa Bay game on Monday night. But Tony, whoever wrote this script, pretty damn good script, right? Tyreek Hill going back to Kansas City. You have the young Texans, Deshaun Watson making his comeback. That would have been Deshaun Watson coming back to Houston, but you got now Joe Flacco. You got the Green Bay Packers. You got the Matthew Stafford return home, right? You wrote some good storylines for this one. Mike McCarthy, playing his former team, if you want to go there. That's some good storylines going on.
Absolutely, and you get a rematch of the Eagles Bucs. This is fun. So put that back up real quick. I was doing some math because I think it's starting to get a little tiresome of everybody saying that like only offensive coaches win, or like that's what you need to be competitive or win. So I went and did some math. Like to start the season, the AFC had 7 defensive head coaches and 6 offensive OCs. 8 offensive head coaches, 9 NFC. Like, well, let me just get to the playoffs instead of boring everybody with all this. Of the teams that won their divisions, like the top 4 in each, it was 3 offensive, 3 defensive, and I did 2 other, right? Because I don't think Harbaugh is necessarily, he's not a defensive guy, and I don't think Dan Campbell's necessarily an offensive guy, right? Like, he was a position coach or whatever, but he was never like a play caller. He was never scheming stuff up. He was a position guy, whatever. So if you take those 2 out, it's really like of the teams that won their divisions, it's pretty well split. Like, yes, more offensive coaches made the made the playoffs as a whole, but there's more offensive coaches to begin with. And we still had 4 defensive-led football teams that got in to the playoffs. So, like, I just feel like there's this crazy narrative heading in one direction where, like, you have to hire an offensive coach. I don't think that you have to do that. I think you have to find a coach that is going to establish a strong culture and find yourself a competent quarterback, and you're going to be just fine.
And this is what I got to say, Tony. When you look at this, the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm sorry, I'm going to get into the AFC versus NFC real quick. And I got to go. This is probably my last one. I got to go.
Yeah.
I think the AFC is a better conference than the NFC. And I show it because the Jacksonville Jaguars went 1-6 down the stretch, ended up from 8-3 to 9-6 and out of the playoffs, right? Lost their division, or 9-7, lost their division. The Eagles did the same shit. They went 1-5, and they ended up still hosting or going on the road to Tampa Bay, but still the number 5 seed in there. I think the NFC is more of a toss-up, Tony, and I'm looking at it like using what you said. That's all offensive coaches, more in the NFC, and then in the NFC or the AFC, you have 3-3 is what you have, right? You have Steelers, Bills, and Texans as your defensive coordinators, and then the other 3 are your offensive coordinators. I just think the NFC, for some reason, I just want to throw this out there before I left. I think the NFC, I think if there's going to be more of upsets, it's coming in the NFC than it's coming in the AFC, because the NFC is up for grabs because I think there's only a certain amount of teams that are good, and the rest of them are not that good. And I think if I'm putting it on record right now, AFC wins the Super Bowl.
I think the AFC is going to win the Super Bowl too. I think that the NFC to me is already settled. 49ers are going. I would like my last comment of this show to be, because Bodo jumped in here and was throwing some Nick Saban heat. No lie, we didn't talk about it during the coaches, Joe, but if I'm the Chargers, I'm reaching out to Nick Saban and saying, like, hey, you want to try this NFL thing again one more time? You want to come over here for an interview and put his name out there for.
Well, Bodo said Bill Belichick brings Nick Saban with them as a defense coordinator.
Even better. I'll take both of those guys on the Chargers coaching staff. I don't think that would happen. I don't think the best coach in college football is teaming up with the best coach in pro football to so.
Who do you find for offense coordinator? You got to find a badass offense coordinator too. Who do you got?
They're not going to. They're going to hire Josh McDaniels. What do you mean? Who's going to be the offensive coordinator? It's going to be Josh McDaniels. If Belichick comes, I've already resigned to the idea that Josh McDaniels will be the offensive coordinator.
Josh McDaniels interviewing with the Tennessee Titans. So,
yes, as a head coach.
Yeah,
great, good. I hope they hire him. I hope the Tennessee Titans hire Josh McDaniels.
Good show, Tony. Good show. But I do gotta.
Great show. Yes, thank you, Harrison. Hopefully, school settles down for you. Keep pounding. It's not a great scene for you. Booty Bandit was here almost the whole time. Yes. Happy New Year, Bodo. Everybody. We'll be back sometime next week to talk about what happened, and I'm sure more coaching updates.
Are we gonna go live this weekend?
What is it?
We're gonna go live this weekend?
Yeah, maybe at some point. I'm around. I'm just watching football, eating way too much food.
Right, so look for us. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Make sure you guys are following us so you guys know every time we go live. And help us out that way. That's the only way we ask anything that we ask for you. And then, like always, the chat is free, so appreciate everybody that's been in there. Tony, I hope the Chargers hire somebody stupid.
Raiders already did that. Don't worry about it.